Hi everyone, I wanted to show you an idea that was given to me by J Dolls UK recently. She mentioned that a Frankie doll would probably be a really good doll to do a repaint and turn it into Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas. So this is technically requested by J Dolls UK, so thank you for the idea, Jay, and this video is for you. So, first of all, obviously, I removed all the horrible, sticky, gungy hair. This was a Frankie that no matter what I did, she went gungy again. And she had loads of glue in her head, so it took ages. So, once I cleaned up the head had already had the factory paint removed. So once I got rid of all the glue and the hair, I then used a pencil to roughly sketch out the shape of the face, like the eyes and stuff. And I did change them and tweak them a little bit as I was painting, because I drew them a bit weird. But once I did the basic outline, so I knew roughly where I was working, the first thing I did was use white paint to do the eyes. Obviously, the main thing on Tim Burton style characters is the eyes, especially in Nightmare Before Christmas. The eyes are quite big and quite a focal quite a dominant feature of the face. So I needed to make sure I got the eyes nice and big and got them as close to the real deal as possible. So I went around the eyes a few times, and you'll see shortly afterwards that I went over like round the eyes in black, and then I had to tweak the shape of the eyes a bit. So it's just a case of painting over the black with the white again, just to make the eyes a bit bigger, and just tweaking it from there. So don't worry if you're doing something like a doll repaint or something and it doesn't work out right first time. You can always alter it. And also a little tip as well, which I used for this, is if you've got a craft knife and you get like a line that comes out a little bit fatter than you want it to on your doll repaint, all you have to do is just very carefully, once it's just started to dry, just very carefully scratch away the excess paint. And that's how I get the really thin lines. I mean, some of them work out all right from the brush, but the ones around the eyes I found really tricky. So I did go back in around the eyes and just remove excess paint with the craft knife. Just scratch it off very lightly. You could use like a needle as well, one of those push pin things. Anything basically where you can just scrape the paint off a little bit. And so the first thing I did was the eyes, and then went around did the mouth and did the stitches around the mouth first of all. Basically going just for did the eyes and then went for doing the black details first. So because most of Sally's face is just the details around the eyes and everything. And luckily, because the skin tone is pretty close to Sally as it is, I didn't have to paint the face or the body. It's just a case of tweaking details to make it look a bit more like her. I then did the stitches that go through the eye, as you can see there. And I did a couple of little lines just under the eyes, just for sort of like bags under the eyes. I just thought it added effect. Now this bit is where it started off all right and then it went a bit weird, but I did fix it later on. So you'll see me go around the eyes and the lines get a bit too thick, and then you'll see me go, like later on I'll go back over with a bit more white just to tweak that a bit. And I did the bottom first, and then it's when I went round the top and I realised the eye shape was wrong, then that's when I changed it. I found it quite fiddly trying to paint like obviously like a flat image. Like I can draw Sally, but obviously trying to do it on a roundish doll head is different to trying to draw it on paper. And I found it actually quite tricky. I'm surprised how tricky I found it, but got there in the end. and you can see there the line's getting a bit too thick. But all I did was took a little bit of white paint once the black was completely dry, and just went over it and just fixed that up a little bit. So you'll see in a little bit that it changes and goes back to looking a bit better. I think I'd done the eyes a bit too, like the inner corners were pointing down a bit too much, and I did the eyes like a bit too pointy. On like Tim Burton characters, the eyes tend to be quite round, quite circular, so I do go back in and fix that. Then once I was happy with the face, I then worked on the body, and I did start off obviously painting the stitches on her chest, which are visible when she's got a dress on. And I did start off by painting the dress directly on the body, and then I was just going to make like a little skirt. But then I decided I didn't like the look of that, so I did change that. So what I did in the end was I took some fabric. It's just like a very plain beige colour cotton fabric. Cut that into several pieces, roughly the right shape for the parts of the dress, and then stuck it onto the doll with hot glue, and then painted it to get it the right colours. I think what I would like to do eventually is actually make the outfit out of different coloured sections of fabric, but I don't have that fabric available, so I just decided to do it that way instead. So yeah, I think if I wanted to improve it next time, I would use the like actually sew the dress, which would probably be a bit tricky, but I think if I made a template I could probably do it. So yeah, so I started off, oh yeah, I'd forgot to do the eyelashes as well, so I added those. And then once I finished painting the stitches on her body, I then worked on the dress. So as you can see here, I've glued the fabric around the doll. I did it all in little sections, so I could get like the sleeves to wrap around the body properly, the two halves of the like body of the dress, and then the skirt at the bottom. It did wrinkle a bit around her waist. I think it's just how I glued it, because obviously I'm not a seamstress. I can make like hoodies and leggings for dolls, but that's about as far as it goes. I've never really been interested in sewing other than to make stuff for the dolls. So I just glued the sections on to the doll, and then started painting the different colours. And then the final part, once I painted each section of the dress the right colour, was to add the details of the stitching. And there's like a little patch on her dress, on her the bottom of her dress. Painted all those sort of details. And then the next thing I had to do was reroute her with some, it's like a dark brainy red colour I've got. This was the closest I got to her hair colour. I didn't film the reroute because it's the most boring process, but that's it. That's my Sally doll. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.